Hi everyone. We're just going to give it a minute for people to join in. So numbers are still increasing there. Just give it another 30 seconds and we'll see. Okay, I think we'll kick off. Tom, are you ready?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, work away, Fíona.
Super. Hello everyone. Thanks a million for attending our webinar today on the Spring Dairy Catalogue, and thanks a million for spending your evening with us. My name is Fíona Dunne, and I'm the Dairy and Beef Programme Manager here at Munster Bovine. Tom, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Tom Baker is my name, and I'm the commercial manager also at Munster Bovine, and I'll be just going through some of the bulls in a bit more detail there with Fina later on when we hit the various panels. Okay.
Perfect. So, just kicking off today, this is what we're going to be going through over the next while. Um, Basically, we're going to have a look at the spring catalogue. That's the cover page of it there on your left. ICBF brought out a base change in the EBI, so we'll have a look at how that impacts your breeding decisions for spring 2026. ICBF also put in another few tweaks there in September, and other improvements. So we're just going to go through those and explain what's happened. We'll also go through Catalogue Explainers. So we have a few new additions in the spring catalogue this year. So hopefully it will provide people with a bit more information. And then we're going to go through the dairy panels, who are our top ranking sires for 2026. And like Tom said, we're going to feature some of the bulls and give a bit more background information. So I suppose just to highlight, you can ask questions throughout the webinar. We're going to get them here in our chat and we'll go through them at the end as well. So if a question pops in at any stage, just type it into the chat box and we can go through it later. So spring dairy catalogs were sent a couple of weeks ago. So if you haven't received them yet, they are in the post and hopefully it won't be too long until you get them. But if you do have your spring dairy catalogs, you're more than welcome to follow along because we'll be taking you through the start of it. There's a few new additions. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to take you through the start of the catalogue anyway. So I suppose I just wanted to start off with a brief recap on what the EBI is and what's it all about, because realistically, owners are only making breeding decisions maybe once or twice a year. So it's very difficult to kind of stay on top of everything that's going on with the EBI and what's in the EBI, because you are only using it maybe twice max a year. So the EBI is a single figure profit index. It's made up of 21 traits, so it's hugely comprehensive, and it provides you an indication of how much additional profit per lactation that animal will pass on to their progeny. So it's a really good tool, but it is very comprehensive. So what we say to herd owners when you're making decisions, identify the key areas that you want to improve on and look at these in the EBI of the bulls that you're picking and also the females then that you're selecting for, say, sexed or conventional, or also who you want to breed just dairy beef to. So it's a really useful tool, but I suppose there is a lot in there. So try hone into certain areas that you want to improve. So the ICBF updated the base population that is the foundation of the EBI and the figures within it there in September last year. So if you haven't had a look at your EBI, you might be surprised to see that the EBI figures have gone down. But I suppose the main point is that that's nothing to worry about. So in September, there was a base change. So I suppose we have this article in the catalogue there on the left-hand side. That's a screenshot. So if you want to read, have a read at home at some stage when you have time, there's a huge amount of information in it. But basically, what base change is it's an update to this reference population. Now, this is only done every maybe 5 or 10 years. Back last year in 2025, the US did a base change in April. New Zealand did a base change in during the summer. So it's very common within genetic evaluations that we have to do these base changes. And the reason why we do it is to ensure that the to ensure that the EBI is reflective of a modern cow, okay, and that it's still relevant. So who does it impact? It impacts every animal in the same way. So there's no re-ranking when it comes to a base change. The base change is just a reference group of animals that everyone else is compared to. So why do we need it? Like I said, it's just to reflect a more modern cow, and it also increases the accuracy of the genetic evaluations as well. So it's really important that we do this update every few years. So who is this reference population? The reference population is basically a group of animals who every other animal's genetics is compared against. So they're your 0 point, they're the baseline. So if you see an EBI of 0, that's that reference population, and that's what we're comparing our genetics to. They're also a highly reliable cohort of animals. So we have a huge amount of information available on them. So before the base change, which happened in September, the reference population was a group of cows that were born in 2005 and they were milk recorded in 2007, 8, and 9. So there was a huge amount of information, but that's going back 15 years now. So what they did was fast forward 10 years and sorry, that's going back 20 years. So what they did was fast forward 10 years, selected a cohort of animals that were born in 2015, and these were all milk recorded in 2017, 18, and 19. So there's again a huge amount of information. They're not expected to shift in any way as more information becomes available on them. And that's who this new base population is based on. So they're more modern and there's all that information available. So the results of this base change was that we saw the milk subindex of this cohort of animals had increased by €45, which is a really positive thing. The fertility subindex had increased by €52, again, really positive. So overall, the national herd improved by €97 for their EBI. So that's a really positive change and positive improvement that we saw in that space of 10 years. So I suppose, what does this actually mean at herd level? So when we look at genetics, if you just look at the cow side of things, the EBI or the cow is passing on 50% of her value, and that's what her EBI represents. So when you have an EBI of €97, we'd expect her offspring, due to her genetics, to yield an additional €97 profit per lactation. But that's only half the story. So when we want to look at what the results of that base change actually mean at herd level, we double her EBI performance. So this cohort had an EBI of 97, an increase of €97. So what that means is that in those 10 years, we're actually yielding an additional 200, almost €200 additional profit per lactation. Okay, so we just double the EBI to get what the actual performance is at herd level. And Tom, you had a good note earlier on saying that for every €1 increase of EBI, it means a €2 increase in profit at herd level per lactation. So it's a really positive story that we're seeing here with this base change.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the impact now at herd level, why is everyone's EBI gone down? Well, because we've now had to reset the bar at zero, which means that €97 has been taken off every single cow with an EBI, or every single animal, sire, male and female. The milk sub-index has dropped by €45. And within that milk sub-index, you have milk yield that's dropped by 74 kgs, fat has gone down by 7, protein down by 5.6, which equates to solids decreasing by 12.6 kgs. Your fat percentages has decreased by 0.07, proteins reduced by 0.05. €52 has been taken off the fertility sub-index. So they're the kind of main sub-indexes and traits that people will be looking at and I suppose concerned at first glance as to why their animals have dropped by so much. But the whole point about the base change is that it is there to increase the accuracy of the valuations and to reflect a more modern animal. But also it's a positive story that our genetics is improving. So we've had to reduce it now to set the bar back at zero. And most importantly, the base change does not mean any re-ranking when it comes to animals. All the animals are treated the same, be it male, female, whatever company you're buying straws off. All the animals have had this base change done in September. So I suppose importantly then, what's the base cow or this base population actually achieving? So we have this table included in, not this one, but the next one I'm going to show you, included in this document as well, so you can have a look at the performance that I'm going to be going through in a couple of seconds. So the 2005 base cow population, their performance, they were averaging about 6,000 kgs of milk, 444 kgs of milk solids. That's your fat and your protein added up together. The fat percentage, they were doing 3.91% fat and 3.43% protein. So pretty decent production. Now, when they updated the base population to that 2015 base cow population, so this is reflected on the base population. Now, when you look at the EBI of your animal's figures, this is the 0 point. So they're averaging nearly 6,300 kgs of milk. So production has increased by almost 250 kgs of milk. So that's really positive. Milk solids have gone from about 444 kgs of milk solids up to 490. So milk solids have increased by almost 50 kgs. Again, really positive. Fat percentages have gone to 4.2% fat and protein 3.6% protein. So we've seen improvements across the board within the production sub-index. And this box here in purple, this is the 0 point. So when you look at a bull that has milk kgs of 0, that's the kind of production we're going to be looking at. They're averaging out about 6,300 kgs of milk. Even in their third lactation, when they're mature, they're hitting over 7,000 kgs of milk. So that's your 0 point, and I think that's important to remember.
So Fíona, can I just ask there that the 6287 liters of milk, kgs of milk, that's the average of the three lactations.
Yeah,
Is that right?
exactly. Yeah, yeah, that's it. So it's averaged
Okay.
across the first, second, and then third plus lactations are grouped together. Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting. Yeah.
So it's a really positive story that the base population is increasing in production, and there's an awful lot of production there in the background. Even the third lactation females, they were doing nearly 560 kgs of milk, milk solids. And I suppose this is in the average environment. There are herds that are going to be doing less, there are herds that are going to be doing more, but on average, this is what that base population is doing.
And this
Okay.
really sets it, it really shows the improvement that has been made as well in that intervening 10 years, it's amazing the protein to go from 343 to 3.6 and fats from 390 to 420, gain of zero point 0.3,
Yeah.
so it's a tremendous performance, I suppose, really. it highlights the value of using AI, which is what it's all about ultimately.
Absolutely. And progress with genetics can be slow, but it continues on once you start making the decisions to breed in the right direction. That progress will stay within the herd and just keep it building upon it as the years go by. So we actually have a question for the audience that Maeve is going to pop up there now. Um, so we wanted to know, would you use negative milk bulls? So I suppose now with the base change, we have a lot of bulls and females that will be say minus 100 for milk kgs. And we just want to look at now that I suppose I've gone through the base cow, she's going to be achieving 6,300 on average kgs of milk. So that's where that zero PTA is going to be. Would you consider using negative milk bulls going forward for spring 2026? So we'll leave this up for a couple of seconds. Perfect. So as we move on, there is the biggest change, I suppose, in that September proof that ICBF ran was the base change, but there was also a few tweaks to improve the genetic evaluations as well. So other improvements that were incorporated in that evaluation were, but did not cause any re-ranking, was there was a change to the beef subindex. So previously to September, the cull cow trait included the cost to grow a heifer as well. It was decided to remove that cost to grow a heifer from the beef subindex and include it in the maintenance subindex, which doesn't make sense. So previously, the maintenance subindex was just the cost to maintain the cow herself, and now it's the cost to maintain the cow, but also to grow her replacement heifer. So that's incorporated now in the maintenance subindex. So what you're going to see now at herd level is there's a much wider range in the maintenance subindex, but it hasn't caused any re-ranking. So previously, for every €1 increase in the maintenance subindex, that would equal a 5 kg difference in the live weight. Whereas now, for every €1 increase in the maintenance subindex, it's about a 1.7 kg change in live weight. Okay, so there has been a change in the traits, but there's no re-ranking because of this. And I suppose I've just circled, we have this article here. So I've just circled this. This is where this table is being pulled from. And we have the table on the right hand side. So we have the old maintenance subindex, so what individuals would used to select on, and what their new maintenance subindex will now be, and the predicted live weight then in to reflect the new maintenance subindex.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Fina, this is possibly going to be the one of the biggest changes that has happened, and probably the thing that'll be hardest for a lot of farms to get their heads around in the short term. I think a lot of farmers knew where their herds sat in terms of for maintenance, and they were inclined to pick bulls to either hold that figure, try and hold that live weight, that type of cow. So this could be a little bit tricky initially. Is there some other way of the farms can go in and navigate this?
Yeah, so ICBF actually have this tool. So it's called a maintenance subindex ready reckoner. So I've just gone on to the ICBF website. And if you go to the evaluations tab here and click into the economic breeding index, this will bring you to a new page. And here we have the maintenance subindex ready reckoner. So I suppose this is a really handy tool actually that we've come across because it took us a while to get our heads around what live weight are we picking bulls for and the panels and everything like that. So I suppose Tom, what kind of maintenance sub-index did you normally pick?
I was less than a 10, about 8, I'd say, at home.
8. So
Yeah,
I can click into this
reasonably
box
big cow.
here, the old maintenance sub-index of 8. So that's going to be a new maintenance sub-index of 9, and your predicted mature live weight is 584 kgs. And I suppose that mature weight live weight prediction is third lactation, mid lactation live weights. So that's this option that you can use. You can also say, so what kind of live weight would you have in mind?
600 kg, say. Is 600, I think, is zero now, isn't it?
600?
Or one,
600, yeah,
yes.
now a 1. So you can
Okay.
put in your mature live weight and that'll come up with the maintenance sub-index that you want to pick from now. And then say if you were to see uh, a sire there on a panel that had a maintenance sub-index, I'm just going to throw out 20.
Yeah.
So this will tell you what that predicted mature live weight will be. If you were to select a maintenance sub-index of 20, it would be 567 kgs.
So
So
prior to this, a bull with a maintenance sub-index of 20 would have been quite a small animal. So now the whole thing has changed. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So that's that. Tool
Okay,
on
that's a handy
ICBF.
tool.
Yeah, yeah, it is, and we're even using it here all the time ourselves. So that's the maintenance sub-index. Now, if we move on to other improvements that have been made in the EBI, so these can cause slight re-ranking, and it's down to updated economic values. So they incorporated all these changes in the September proof, and they needed to increase or to change and update the economic values in order to make them more relevant to modern day costings. So this is a selection of the prices that were increased or changed to reflect modern costs and other changes as well to the EBI that can cause a bit of re-ranking were down to the management sub-index and the health sub-index. So within these two sub-indexes, predictor traits were added. The temperament, the trait in the management sub-index has gone from being measured on a 5-point scale to a 3-point scale, and more kind of up-to-date modern calculation methodologies have been incorporated in these evaluations as well. So I suppose the whole point of this was to make the evaluations more accurate for herd owners as well. So these are all little tweaks, but I suppose the two of those, the economic weights and these changes as well, can cause a bit of re-ranking. Um, so here I've just put up a herd's EBI scorecard. So it just shows between May is on the left-hand side, September is on the right-hand side, and you can see that their figures have dropped considerably, well, by nearly €100. So this herd had an EBI of 254 in May, and now in September have an EBI of 177. So there's been a large drop, but I suppose most importantly, if you see in the green circles, their ranking has remained the same largely across the board. The only changes where there has been some re-ranking have been in the management and the health sub-index, and that's for the reasons I explained previously. So I suppose it's just important for people to kind of get their heads around the new figures because there has been a lot of changes, but it's not a negative thing. It actually tells a really positive story that we are going in the right direction nationally when it comes to the EBI. So the moral of the story, I suppose, it's a new year, so we have to have new selection criteria. And we have this bull profile in our catalogue this year. So a huge amount of work has been put into it, and we figured because there was a base change, it was a good time to include it because people might not know where they stand with their figures. So within this bull profile page in the catalogue, it's on page 6 if you're following along with your catalogue at home. It shows all of the EBI sub-indexes and how they're broken up. So we have the average figures, we have the top 20% and bottom 20%. So if you're unsure about what kind of selection criteria to pick, these are good kind of metrics to be going off and using when you're selecting your selection criteria for spring 2026. Um, but I suppose I've pulled out some of the key traits and we've kind of converted them back to what it would have been pre the change. So an EBI of 300 in May last year is now equates to 203 EBI. Your milk kgs of 0 today would have been 74 plus 74 kgs of milk. Your kgs, 13 kgs of fat today would have been 20 kgs of fat prior to the base change. Protein kgs of 9.4 would have been 15 kgs of protein. So if you're looking at a bull today and they have solids of 22, that would have equated to 35 kgs of solids pre the base change. Okay. 0.23 for fat would have been 0.3 and 0.15 of protein would have been 0.2. So a lot of people were kind of selecting 30 kgs of solids, 0.3 for fat and 0.2 for protein. So that's now 30 kgs of solids is about 18 kgs of solids and is now 0.23 and 0.15. So I suppose the main takeaway is to readjust your selection criteria in line with what's what's um, what's still really good, but the figures will be slightly lower because of that base change.
Yeah, I think I suppose we're starting to see some of the bulls now have slipped under 0.10 protein, which was like kind of a minimum bar for a lot of people. So I suppose really a bull that's at 0.09 protein with good kilos of solids feeding is still actually a very good bull. That's a kind of a message I think we want to get out there as well, maybe. But
Yeah,
obviously, the point three and the point two for fat and protein percentages components was set on that should actually breed a cow that was capable of doing 5% fat and 4% protein. So, once you're kind of up there at those new levels now of 0.23 fat and 0.15 protein, you're more or less still on course to hit that target, hopefully, of 5% fat and 4% protein down the road.
yeah, exactly. And those bulls are still the same bulls, even though they have lower figures. It's just
Yeah.
the base change, and the animals in people's herds are still the same animals. They're still genetically as good. It's just with the base change now, they just look lower, but they aren't. And it's reflective of a higher production cohort as well. So it's a really good story driving on production and people can achieve it with the new figures as well. And I suppose what I would recommend people to do is look at their own EBI report, have a look at the females in their own herd and look at what their figures are. And as long as, if you want to increase the trait, as long as you're going higher than the females that you have on your EBI report, you're going to be making progress. So, and it'll help people identify kind of selection criteria and cutoffs when they are selecting sires.
Great.
So we wanted to just showcase some of the bulls that we have in the catalogue. So I suppose um, we were really delighted with how we feature in the ICBF rankings. We have the number one bull available on the EBI. So that's Top Bike. We also have the number one bull for TB resistance on the active bull list, who is historic. Mojo then is the number one bull on the for EBI on the active bull list. Ivant then is the number one daughter proven bull. We also have the number one daughter proven bull that's available for sexed, which is really good. So we actually have the first number one and two daughter proven bulls available in the country. We have the number one bull on the active bull list for protein kgs, who's Chopper, so a really popular sire. Then Excalibur is the number one British Frisian for milk solids on the active bull list. And Ornate then is number one bull for protein percentages. So we're really happy with the selection of bulls that we have to offer for our customers. Um, and regardless of what the selection criteria is, I think we can fulfill anyone's requirements. So I suppose what we wanted to do as well was to go through the panels that we have here in the catalogue. So I'm just going to pull it up. So in the catalogue, it's on page 11 here, that we're going to start off with. So this is our target 550 kgs of milk solids. So this cohort of sires we've selected because their production is exceptional, and we want to be targeting that 550 kgs milk solids. So this group, it's the panel on the top of the page, and it's your low maintenance sub-index panel. So this panel is sorted by maintenance sub-index, and that's to reflect the body weight and the live weight of the animals that you're going to be breeding for. So in this panel, it's breeding high to medium live weight females who were expected to kind of range between 624 kgs down to 570. So as you go down the panel, the maintenance sub-index will increase, which means the animals are getting that bit lighter. Okay, so at the bottom of that first panel, you're getting down to about 570 kgs. At the top, you were starting off at about 625 kgs mature live weight. So I suppose just an overview of this panel. We have our averages here. So the panel is averaging 237, but we just converted it back to old money to help people kind of get their heads around where that would be sitting if it was this time last year. So that's 334 EBI. Milk kgs of 24 would have been close to 100 kgs of milk. Your milk solids there at 22 would have been 35 kgs of solids, and 0.22 for fat would have been 0.29% fat, and 0.13 for protein would have been 0.18% protein. So I suppose that panel average, although it might look lower than last year, it's actually improved upon this panel last year. So the production and the performance of these bulls has increased in comparison to last year, and that's, I suppose, what we'd hope for. So we're just going to go through some of the bulls Tom wanted to feature to give you a bit of more of a background to them.
So I suppose I wanted to maybe feature some of the newer bulls there, Fíona. The first bull I'm going to talk about is a bull called Bowerswood Cashback. He's a Sandy Valley McGraw son, so he's definitely something different. He's actually would be probably a bull that guys will use to improve kgs of milk solids. Um, he's got a nice plus of one plus 150 kgs of milk. You know, he's 26 kgs of solids, and still also very good on components. 0.17 fat, 0.09 protein. Both Dam and Grand Dam are two real nice cows. They're both VG, and it's a family that it's going back to the Dutch family that bred Eastland Cash, called the Eastland Golden family. So very balanced all-round bull. I believe the Cashback, you know, he should be quite popular, I'd say, for the coming year, particularly those guys that are just seeking to maintain or even maybe boost production a little bit. Second bull that also fits into that category is a bull that's around a couple of years now, is Johnswell Rory. Again, likewise, he's probably one of our bigger milk bulls at the minute. He's got, you know, he's plus 250 kgs of milk almost. He's got 28 kgs of solid, so that's, you know, he would have been over 40 kgs on old money, and again, still coming through with decent components. And they're going to be calving in this coming spring now, the first daughters of Johnswell Rory, and getting very favourable reviews. Quite a lot of strength and power in them is what we're hearing back. Okay. The third bull there is another new bull, is Bunacly Fantasy. He was a younger bull last year. Um, so again, an exceptional pedigree behind this bull. We actually were lucky enough to see both Dam and Grand Dam. We called up to with the progeny tour there in September. Quite a few of the members of Munster Bovine and Progressive, and we ended up on the farm of Mike McGann above in Longford. Dam there is doing 9,000 litres of milk at exceptional components. She's doing over 800 kgs of milk solids. And the same with the Grand Dam. The Grand Dam is an exceptional cow. She's actually 14 years of age now, and she's 12 lactations done. And again, she's been consistently giving around 10,000 litres of milk and managing to go back and calve in more or less on the button. So there's the interesting thing is that Fantasy himself is actually slightly negative for kgs of milk, but there's huge milk behind him in the family. So I mean, you'll probably ask the question there. It was asked in the poll. It'll be interesting to see what the results of that will be. But I suppose the reality is that Fantasy is a bull that I certainly will use at home because I think there's loads of milk there in the cow family behind him, and I'll have no fear. Okay. The two other sires I might just mention there, Vina, is first one there is part of Magical as well. Is also in this panel of bulls, possibly going to be one of our most popular bulls, I think, for this season. He's a very balanced bull. He's one of the few bulls that's available. He's still over 100 for milk sub index at 112 and 106 on fertility. Positive for milk, he's plus 78 kgs of milk there, 29 kgs of solids, which is phenomenal. Again, would be well over 40 in old money, and 0.22 and 0.17. So, I suppose the other thing about ISM is that we photographed the dam and grand dam. In fact, all four cows directly behind Park of Magical are still alive above on the farm of Kevin Downing, and which is some achievement. And really, I think actually the photograph is actually on the page of the catalogue. You can see the four cows there, four decent cows. So very, he's a bull. I think that's really going to fly, and he will be sexed as well, but he will probably sell out quite fast, I would imagine. The last bull is a Casper Sunbred, but down in West Cork. He is Grassleaf, and again, tremendous production here behind this family, both on the maternal line. Dam and Grandam are two reals, very honest, very straight cows, both VG cows. There's a bit of British Frisian. The Grandam is bred out of British Frisian sire, and so look, I think very decent bull again here, a bull that should sell well, and I'd be very confident that he will deliver for us going forward. A question just popped up there, Fina, about milking speed, and I know you covered it. You mentioned there about the changes that has happened to both milking speed and temperament. Um, I suppose it's just worth highlighting that prior to the base change, the average milking speed was actually minus 13 seconds. And that has now gone to, so the goalposts have totally shifted and it's now gone to plus two. So plus two is actually now zero, the new zero. And, so that's something I think that maybe before I would have been slow to use the bull. Excuse me, that was maybe plus 7, 8, 10 for milking speed. Whereas there's a lot of bulls now in the teens, and I think they're what I would call acceptable. I wouldn't be using them maybe just on slow cows, but I don't think it's going to be as much of an issue. And the fact that the whole goalposts have changed, I think it's important that everyone is aware of that. So that's important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, I suppose I just opened up the bull profile there. So even for yourselves, the average, yeah, like you said, is 2 seconds for milking speed. So and milking speed is a funny one. Like you might have a longer if you have a longer female in the parlor, you want to breed a shorter bull from her, sire from with her to kind of average out their progeny. But if you have a really short female in the parlor as well and want to lengthen out her offspring's milking time, um, that you could use longer a longer milking speed sire for that. So milking speed is a funny one when it's not necessarily bad or good. It's just depending on the females that you're using them on.
Yeah, no, if you go too fast, you'll have cows that are leaking milk all over the place, and that's a disaster as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll go on to the next panel. So this is the one at the bottom of the page. So we're still on page 11, but now we're looking at the medium to low live weight panel. So this is your high maintenance panel. So like above, it's sorted on the maintenance subindex. So we're going from a lower maintenance subindex to a higher maintenance subindex, which means we're going from a body weight of about 570 kgs live weight to 515 kgs mature live weight at the bottom of that panel. And the panel averages. So it's 263 EBI, which would have been 360 prior to the base change. Minus 69 there would have been about 5 kgs milk. Fat and protein then combined is now 18, averaging out at 18 kgs of milk solids, which would have been 31 kgs. Their percentages are really good here. So 0.25 for fat and 0.16 for protein, which would have been 0.32 and 0.21 for fat and protein prior to the base change. So again, really strong panel. And I have the bulls here that you wanted to just feature on.
Yes, okay. So I have two bulls here selected initially, and the first bull is Swift Sheet Lucky, a bull that was bred in Kilkenny. Again, we would have seen the dam as part of our progeny dam tour there in September. She's a real nice straight cow. She's a VG 86, I think she's classified. Really nice udder on her, walks very well. Not a tall cow, but as I say, nicely well balanced, well put together. And the sire there is Grand Slam, who's also he's kind of done very well based on after the new base change as well, Grand Slam. So it's a yeah, it's a he's I think he's a real nice safe bull to use is that Lucky Bull. Um, he's actually still positive on milk. He's got 20 kgs of solids, good on components, exceptionally good on fertility, and also he's also exceptionally good on health and TB resistance. So nice all round package. That's Swiss Sheet Lucky Bull. The second bull is Into Curler Real Time, bull from West Cork. He's an Auburn son. I suppose we're lucky that we've quite a few Auburn sons, and Auburn, that Creighton Auburn was the number one daughter proven bull last year. He still probably would be the number one bull, but there's no semen available. He sold out, so we're looking out to have share of his sons coming on stream. So real time again coming through there, and maybe not as high in EBI, but tremendous production bull, and he's coming through with serious components, and still he's over 100 from milk, 25 kgs of solids after the base change, and the dam is a smashing cow. I was down there on the farm, Gerald Collins bred her down in Dunmanway, and she's just a real nice cow, not a tall cow again, very much a medium-sized cow, but a lot of power, a lot of strength. You could drive a wheelbarrow between her front legs. She's got that type of cow, tremendous udder, and just I think a real honest kind of a farmer's cow. So very nice cow, yeah.
And I suppose all of these bulls are available sexed as well. So um, we do the 4M Ultra Plus sexed just for people to be aware of. Um,
That's right.
oh,
And actually all of these bulls are also on offer at the moment, which we can probably discuss later on.
yeah, yeah,
All of those bulls are in that panel.
they sure are. So going on to the next panel here, we have the high percentages panel. So this is from black and white sires, but I suppose they're kind of crossbred percentages that we're targeting. But these guys are exceptional for their percentages with a range of maintenance sub-index basically to suit your system. So you can pick whichever live weight you want to be targeting. The average of this panel here is 244 EBI, minus 127 for milk kgs. That looks a lot lower than what it would have been prior to the base change. It would have been just about minus 50. Your solids are 18 after the base change, but before that it would have been about 31 kgs. And then the percentages actually look like what they would have been before. So 0.3% fat and 0.19% protein, which exceptional components here. And that would have equated to 0.37% fat and 0.24% protein prior to the base change. And we have a couple of bulls here to feature.
Yeah, we just picked out, I think, four sires here near the top. So I suppose Nobleman is the one of the highest EBI bulls we have. He's just short of 300 EBI. He's the son of Nifty, Vickerstown Nifty, who's an NCBC bull that's now daughter proof and has come through with really good proof as well. And you can see there 0.43 fat and 0.23 protein is tremendous solids components there coming through on Nobleman. The second bull is a bull we all know about, I would say at this stage, is Old Castletown Mojo. Mojo is daughters. They're just actually coming into milk. In fact, I was talking to a guy there just before Christmas because he seen with him went out earlier, and there's that guy rang from up the country who I'm friendly with up around Tullamore, and he's milking two of them. He'd about 15 or 16 heifers calved in. He was just making the point his two Mojos are nearly the best heifers of the bunch, and he wasn't expecting them because Mojo isn't really a big milk bull. But he said they've loads of milk and they're doing everything right. A lot of power, a lot of strength, nice udders. So hopefully Mojo will, continue. He is the number one bull on the active list at present, and certainly the initial um, feedback coming through from his daughters is that they're performing exceptionally well. He's also, of course, easy calving Mojo as well, and it's available
Absolutely.
sexed. The other two sires there is a bull first from Kerry is Knockasee Italon is obviously the dam you can see she's a black cow there. She is a crossbred cow, but you can see again the level of components coming through is phenomenal there. 0.24 fat and 0.23 protein, so really good on the protein, resulting in overall kgs of 14 kgs of solids. Again, for those guys that like that maybe more medium-sized cow, very efficient type of cow, I would say. And this is a herd that has produced a number of bulls in the past. In fact, the grand dam of this bull is the dam of sire that I would have purchased back a number of years ago, and that bull is now without approval and has done very well. And I suppose the other thing I would say is that this is a son of Milton. Milton is another one of these bulls that has come up with an exceptional daughter proof. He's an NCBC bull um, that he's an outcross himself. He's a nart out of a Kiltescanese, Milton, and he's no longer he's actually still available in conventional but not available sex. So it's nice to have some of his sons, and there's quite a few Milton sons as well in the mix there, which we won't even be discussing tonight, such as the Ballycondon Roden bull, Patchwork. What else? There's Ballast Weissman. So it's nice to see some of these genetics coming through, which I think is very important. And then the last bull here we'll just talk about is the next gen Girvan bull. Again, the dam there you can see she's actually our poster girl. She's on the front of our new catalogue. She's the next gen Teresa cow. Um, so this bull actually was, I think, was actually born below in the Ag College in Clonakilty. He's a component son, and again, components is very appropriate because again, zero point 0.4 for fat and 0.19 protein, I think is exceptional. And Gervin, I think his number three bull on the active bull is currently, so another bull that's well up there. Okay.
Absolutely. And I suppose Mojo and Gervin there are marked as easy calving too on the panels. So we only mark bulls as easy calving if they're less than 6% daughter or heifer calving difficulty, and they have about 300 records at least. So we can be confident in their calving ability. So they're two to choose from if you are looking for heifer bulls.
Yeah, I might just to say as well that the Ettalon bull is actually if guys are trying to locate him, he's actually in the back near the back of the catalogue because he's actually in the crossbred section because obviously Dam is a crossbred cow and he is down as XSR. So for those guys maybe that are just watching that, that's where you'll find Etalon, new
Yeah.
catalogue.
Yeah. So now to mention, we have a pedigree production and confirmation panel. So that's on page 13. So this includes some of the Irish bred bulls, but also a lot of the imported sires from the likes of CMEX and ABS, KI Campen as well. So there's a huge amount of sires here to choose from. And this panel includes the overall type, udder, and feet and leg scores as well. So these are of particular interest for that kind of herd. And if you want more information on those bulls, some of them are featured in the catalogue, but you could also look at our high type catalogue that we brought out just before Mill Street this year, if you want more detail on them. And you can also check out our website for the likes of those. Then moving on again. So page 14, we have our daughter proven panel. So this panel features proven sires who have daughters milking in Ireland and are performing exceptionally well on the ground. So we do have limited sex semen when it comes to daughter proven sires, but I suppose the environment has changed massively in the last few years with the introduction of sex. So we actually have 7 Irish sex sires here available. And 33 bulls on this daughter proven panel to choose from. So I think that the how vast this panel is just a reflection of the really good genetics that are coming into our breeding program in the form of genomic sires, and then when they're proven they're still remaining top of the rank when it comes to daughter production. So their EBI here on is averaging 189 for EBI. So old money, that would have been 286 EBI. Their EBI for daughter proven bulls does tend to be a bit lower than the genomic bulls just because they are that much older than the new genomic bulls. The milk kgs then is 20, so that equates to 94 kgs of milk. Solids were averaging out about 18 kgs of solids, which would have been 31 kgs of solids prior to the base change, and 0.18% fat and 0.12% protein, which would have been 0.25% fat and 0.17% protein. So really high percentages, really high solids, all coming from proven sires out in the field. I know you wanted to go through a couple of these, Tom.
Well, I suppose the first two bulls on the there are they're as you say, the number one and number two daughter proven sires in Ireland, so it's just worth giving them a mention anyway. The Ivent bull is an absolute son, and he's come through. Again, positive milk, 118 kgs of milk, 20 kgs of solids. Very good on fertility as well, like a nice balance there, 71 on production, sub-index 126 on fertility, and also very good in health, 13 on health. And probably he'll be an outcross as well for a lot of people. So he's available conventional, but unfortunately he's not available sexed. So the swoop bull is available sex. So he's a Harald son, and we're seeing quite a few of the Harald sons start to come through there now. Good figures. Again, 271, there's very little between them in terms of EBI, and an even higher milk sub-index, 90 on milk sub-index. Overall kgs of solids, 23, and very good components. So again, positive milk plus 51 for milk, 21.21 fat and 0.13 protein. So certainly is a very balanced bull, this Knocknasuna swoop.
Absolutely, yeah. And I suppose Ivan the conventional he's easy calving marked there as well, um, as an option. And both of those are pedigree sires, so
Yes.
really attractive bulls. So we're going on to the easy calving panel. So like I said before, any bull that's ticked as easy calving throughout all the panels, they would be less than 6% for heifer calving difficulty with over 300 records. So what we've done is we've selected all the sires that we're showing in the catalogue. This is actually our most comprehensive catalogue to date. It features about 176 sires in it. So there's a huge amount of information in here. But we've brought together all of the easy calving bulls and put them in the one panel. Just if you are looking for heifer bulls, you can have a look at this panel, and it ranges from maintenance, sub-index and production. So you can pick through bulls, whichever suits your system. So Tom, if you want to feature a few.
Okay, we'll just maybe, I think, because Mojo's done such a great job around the place, I think it's worth just mentioning him again. He's one of our top easy calving sires available there. I suppose again, when I talk to farmers about selecting sires for easy calving, the probably number one trait for me is reliability, and that's where Mojo really comes in. He's got over 8,212 calving records. So you're talking about 99% reliable for that trait. Coming in there at 5.1 on the percent heifer calving difficulty. So very safe option should be. Is available sexed and very a bull that will obviously deliver huge components and I think should be a very good sire down the road. The number two bull, Garvin, we discussed there. He was on the components panel. Number three bull is the Ivant, the daughter-proven bull. So it's great to see. You see how well the Ivant bull ranks there. He's number three on the easy calving panel. Number four then is definitely a bull I'll spend a bit of time on because that Grand Slam bull, we actually visited this farm as well as part of our progeny tour up in Laois there. Um, Very impressive farm, very even herd of cows. All the cows were like peas in a pod. Would have come from a Frisian, British Frisian type of base, I suppose it's fair to say. And you could just see that strength, and they weren't extreme type of cows, medium sized. But Grand Slam there is, at 260 BI, very balanced. He's actually got 95 for his milk sub index. In real terms, that would have improved quite a bit even since last year, despite the base change. So coming through there, 22 kgs of solids, zero point 0.2 fat, 0.18 protein, and he's got over 7,000 calving difficulty records. And again, he's rated there at 5.82. So should be another safe option there for heifers and is available sexed. There's two daughter proven bulls. Then again, I just picked them out. You can go. There's a load of bulls in there, but Bride Park Kim Boy has come through with a very good proof. 253 for EBI, and again, it should be a very safe option there. He's about 5.5 on calving difficulty. And then down at the bottom of that panel there that we selected was Greenford Zaki, another daughter proven sire, another Harold's son again, and again he's done quite a good job. He's coming in there still today with 21 kgs of solids, really good on components. He's got 2,500 calving records, and again coming in there around 5.6 on for easy calving on heifers. So all of them, all of those bulls in the panel really are very safe options. And you just say,
Absolutely.
Fina, we don't put in any of the young bulls that are only just based on genomic information. All of the bulls on the easy calving panel all have actual daughter calving records
Yeah,
behind
and
them.
hundreds of them at that. Yeah,
Yeah, as a minimum.
yeah, absolutely. So the next panel that we're going to move on to is the health panel. So this is here on page 18 for those of you who are looking at your catalogue at home. So I suppose we wanted to put together a panel of bulls that are exceptional for the health traits. The health subindex incorporates four individual traits, which are TB, lameness, mastitis, and SCC. So we wanted to pick bulls that are excelling in each of these four traits, and their health subindex is not just being driven by being exceptional for one trait. So that's why we came up with this health subindex panel. So you want a high health subindex value, but within the health subindex, you want each of the traits within it to have a low value because a lower value means a lower prevalence, which is a better choice ultimately. So we've included the four traits within the health subindex in this panel. So you can see in a red box there towards the right-hand side of the panel, there's the TB, and that's highlighted in pink. Your lameness, mastitis, and SCC are all there. Then just to go through the panel average. So we're looking at an EBI of 237, which old money would be in 334. This group of bulls are averaging out a maintenance subindex of 7. Milk kgs is 28. That old money would have been 102. Solids there are 21 kgs, which would have been 33 kgs before the base change. 0.2% fat and 0.12% protein, which would have been 0.27% fat and 0.17% protein. I suppose I know I'm going back and forward from today's figures versus what they would have been prior to the base change, but it does take a bit of readjusting in your mind to figure out what actually is good now and what it would have been prior to the base change. And so Tom, I know you wanted to mention a few of these.
Yes, I suppose we spoke about fantasy. I haven't highlighted there. We spoke about him earlier on, but about a tremendous cow family behind him. But not only has it got great components as well and quite decent production, but he's also excels for health, 22 euro plus on health sub index, and he's rated 6.6 for TB resistance, which is probably something that's becoming important. And he's minus on all the other traits such as the mastitis, lameness, and cell count. I would say he's a tremendous bull for feet and legs. Anyone looking to get feet and leg improvement, because the dam and grand dams, all have tremendous legs. They never give any trouble with their feet and legs. And he's probably a bull that we'd like to think will breed really good feet and legs. That's Bunaclive Fantasy. Ballytop Ringo was probably, I think he was number one health bull last year, so he's still up there. He's number four now. He's just been superseded a little bit, but still coming through very good. Overall, 541 for TB is a very low rating. There's not a whole pile of bulls lower than him. And then we have Pinatubo, who's a teak son, and he's also come in, he's plus 27 on health, coming in again with huge components, probably more components than teak. And also, I suppose, he's still positive on milk. He's plus over 50 kgs of milk, but 23 kgs of milk solids would be making him quite a decent bull. The other bull is his sire is worth mentioning, Fina, because uh, Teak was actually rated one of the best bulls for TB resistance there last year. And now that he's daughter proven, it's interesting to see that he still ranks very highly for this trade, because I suppose farmers are now starting to look at this trade and use it. And they're all wondering, asking the question, how reliable is it? And okay, it's not. There's none of these traits, particularly on these genomic stars, in particular, they're not going to be anywhere near like 100% bulletproof. But it's good to see that Teak has held on to that good, desirable rating for TB resistance now that he's daughter proven. So I think that's important.
Absolutely. And when we look at, I've just gone back to that bull profile page and looking at the health sub index and where we are
Excuse me.
with the average top and bottom percentages. So the average animal is 8.41% for TB. So the top 20% is lower than 7%. So we can see that these are all much lower. They're all in the top 20%, if not the top 10% for the trait. And the bottom 20% is 9.86. So you really want to be selecting sires that I suppose are better than average, i.e. lower than average, so lower than about 8.5% for TB, if that is a concern of yours, which actually kind of brings us to the next poll. So maybe if you could pop up the poll there, we had a question that will TB resistance become part of your breeding strategy in 2026? Just out of interest, we were wondering um, if this would be a trait that you would consider selecting sires on for the upcoming breeding season. So we'll just leave it up here for a few seconds and give you a chance.
Um, yeah, I might just throw in a question to you, bit of a curveball there, Fiona, for you, which I know that you're
My
well capable of
favorite.
answering. Yeah, I suppose the question, and I get asked it as well, is that, like how heritable is TB, the TB resistance figure and so forth, and you know, within a couple of generations, do you think we can make a difference and breed for it successfully?
Yeah. I will fact check myself, but as off the top of my head, its heritability is about 14%. So we've seen that we can make improvements, massive improvements, even with lowly heritable traits. The likes of fertility is only about 3% heritable, and we've made improvements over the last 20 odd years when it's been included in the EBI. So now that it's included in the EBI, I see no reason why we can't make positive changes and move in a positive direction by selecting sires that are lower for TB.
Okay.
Okay, so the poll is gone there. So I'd say we can move on to the next slide. So we're almost there, just the last few to go through. So I suppose we have the strength panel as well in our catalogue. Strength panel is on page 15 there if you're following at home. So ultimately, this panel is to breed kind of medium-sized, strong, robust cows. We want them to be average on stature. So sometimes the maintenance sub-index is used as an indication of how tall or small an animal is going to be, but that's not the case. The maintenance sub-index is reflecting the live weight of the animal, but stature is a good trait to identify how tall or small an animal will be. So negative on stature is a bit shorter, plus on stature is a bit taller. So in the strength panel here, we're breeding an average stature, but they're wider on the chest and the rump. We are also selecting sires for this panel that are maintaining good body condition score. They're averaging about 19 kgs of milk solids and 0.16% protein. So that's a really good panel to be selecting if that's what you're after, kind of robust, strong, sturdy cows. And we do include the body condition score, stature, chest width, angularity, and rump width within that panel as well, just if you're interested in those traits.
Okay, I might just mention about the outcross panel. I think something very important because we've seen in the past where the effects of inbreeding, has can be quite a detrimental effect on fertility and a lot of other traits. So I think it's very important that we maintain, quite a big panel of genetically diverse sires. So what we've done is that we've on the sires that are deemed to be outcross, they have the outcross icon. Um, we've included no sire or grandsire that basically would have Mojo, Teague, Seville, Albert, Pivotal, LWR, LHZ, Anton, or Ronaldo blood in them. So they'd be all the more popular bloodlines that have been used there in the past, say 10 or 15 years. So, you should have just quite a range of these sires still available, which is great. And if you're not sure if you're after buying in animals or you've been using maybe stock bulls, excuse me, and not sure of the back pedigrees on your cows. I mean, there is a great range still of very much these outcross sires available for you. And the other thing is that they still have very high figures for both EBI production and fertility, etc. So you're not really compromising on your production figures and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other panels that we have in the catalogue, we have a Jersey, Jersey Cross, British Frisian, and Fleckvieh panel. And although we don't have a panel of them, we have Viking Reds there from Viking Genetics, towards the back of the dairy breeds there, featured in the panel. So we have huge number. Like I said, it's probably our most comprehensive catalogue yet to feature over 170 sires. So I think we have something for everyone, regardless of what your selection criteria are. We can sort you out, no problem. Um, and then I suppose just to finish up, we're coming to the end. So we do have a January sex semen offer. Tom, do you want to mention this?
Well, yes, I suppose there's I think I think I count them up. There's like 36 or 37 sires included in total. So great range of bulls available. It's a 10% discount on these all these bulls that are featured from the early January until the 6th of February. So we feel this is a very good time for farmers to go and actually put a bit of work before they start calving cows because once you the first cow calves and whatever you're going to be literally up to your eyes in it for the next month, 6 weeks after that. So if you have an opportunity there over the next couple of weeks before calving gets underway, I think it is an ideal opportunity. Now's the time to actually, speak to your local breeding advisor, sales rep, whatever, AI tech, and book some straws if you're interested in them, because there's no doubt the top bulls will actually sell out, I would imagine, quite fast. So now is the time. We've had quite a few guys there last year, last in the March, April came looking for straws. We actually completely sold out of sexed. So we brought no forward, no straws. And but guys were ringing up looking for sex and they couldn't believe it when we told them they were completely sold out. So I'd say don't make the same mistake this time, this year. I'd say, go ahead and book some straws. You don't have to book maybe 100% of your requirements, but certainly if you're thinking of using some sexed on maybe some maiden heifers, if you have a batch of 20 maiden heifers, I'd say, yeah, maybe just go and book those and maybe hope that if there's some straws there for cows after that, there might be some straws still available. Okay.
Absolutely. And yeah, just to say that this, we have a QR code there. So if you want to scan that, you can download or it'll bring you to the full panel and the sex semen offer. So you can have a look at it later if you want. And this is running so it started on the 6th of January until the 6th of February. And just to avail of that 10%, the straws need to be paid in full by the 31st of August. This at the end of the summer. So there's a huge selection there. We have the pedigree, SRM, daughter proven Jersey and Jersey cross options. And I suppose 10% is a really decent discount to be offering. So we've reached the end of our presentation. Um, First of all, I just want to thank you for coming to the webinar. And we've just a couple of last things to go through. So if we go through the poll results, I was just sent them there. So the EBI changes, the question was, would you use negative milk bulls? 55% of you said yes, and 45% of you said no. So I suppose even looking at the comments here, um, an individual has said, is it fair to say the PD for milk kgs in most herds is now negative, but these cows have still the same milk potential as they had last year, just they are better compared with a better base population now. So that's just kind of coming into that negative milk space. So yeah, this person is absolutely right. The ICBF came out with a stat that about 70% of Irish herds are now negative for milk. So it's a really common thing because of the base population, or the base change. Um, but that population is yielding more than it was previously. So even though herds are now negative, they're still producing more than what they would have been when they're in comparison to the old base population. And I suppose that's a key thing to remember. I see someone else had said that with banding and nitrates, we cannot afford to go over 0 kgs in milk again if your herd is averaging around 6,000 litres. And I think that's a really important one. If you want to stay in that band, probably the focus shouldn't be on milk volume, and using a negative milk bull will be good to make sure that you stay in that banding. But what you can be doing is selecting on milk solids and driving up the milk solids, driving up your percentages so that you're maximizing what you can make from that volume. Um, so I don't know, Tom, do you have anything to add there?
No, I think yeah, there's some very good comments there, I suppose. Obviously it was reasonably close, 55 versus 45, so it wasn't exactly, 70-80%. But and I suppose that does show the problem. I mean, a lot of, there's an awful lot of bulls in the catalogue, Fina, and it's amazing. All of them will get actually used, and it's you go down the road and you call into two, three, four different neighbours. They'll all pick different bulls, so it's just one of those things that we need to have a fairly large panel with a big range of bulls that have offer different things for different farmers. But I think there's no doubt that derogation has we're lucky. Thankfully, it has remained, and I think an awful lot of our customers are certainly they're in the middle band, and that's probably where they want to stay. At the top of the middle band is where a lot of guys feel that that's the best place for them at the minute. So until the derogation changes, I think that's where guys will want to be. I just
Absolutely.
saw a question popped in there as well. somebody asked a question, is there any minimum amount of straws for the sexed offer? So actually isn't. We didn't put it in. We just left it open to people. We weren't going to be kind of dictating to guys. We felt that, look, it's going to be a tough year for guys for in terms of financially, perhaps for the coming year at the moment. Even though the last milk auction now was very positive, it was up 6-7%. But hopefully the price of milk will pick up there in the second half of the year. But look, we felt that that we weren't going to be kind of dictating, saying you had to buy a minimum of 20, 30 straws. So there is no actual minimum volume on that to avail of that sixth offer. Okay.
Super. Um, then the next poll that we had, sorry, now I'll just pull up the results. So the TB resistance. So the question was, will TB resistance become part of your breeding strategy in 2026? So 69% said yes, it will. 31% said no. What do you think of that, Tom?
Yeah, a little bit more clear cut. You could say two-thirds, one-third. I think there is a lot of interest. Look, there's an awful lot of TB in the country. Let's be honest about it. You know, where the stats nationally are staggering. You go every parish, there seems to be, or every second parish anyway, there's problems here and there all over the place. So and I think the fact that the heritability, as I asked the question, that it is something I believe that if we put in two or three crosses of bulls that are positive for that trait, i.e. that can breed lower TB, more TB resistance, I think we can actually improve, use it as a tool genetically to improve and probably have breed cows that are more resistant to TB. So yeah, it's something definitely. I think it's a no-brainer to go after this trait. The data is there. There's actually a lot of the data behind it is actually very strong, very compelling. So every cow that's been culled for TB over the last 20, 30 years, all that data of all the bulls, all the SARS has been gathered up by ICBF. So, it is quite there is a lot of data behind this trait as well, which gives me further confidence that it's worth chasing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I fact checked myself there while you were going through the panels, and so the heritability ranges between 12 and 18%. So I said 14%. So yeah, it's within that range. And like I said, it's a decent heritability to be able to make progress nationally when it comes to breeding decisions and breeding for lower incidence of TB and increasing your TB resistance. So going back to that bull profile page, if you're selecting sires that are lower than 7%, so like I said before, the lower the value, the better. So if you're selecting sires that are lower than 7%, you're selecting sires that are within the top 20% for TB resistance. So that's a figure that people could use if they want to really select on TB. And I suppose two-thirds have indicated that they do want to. And that health panel, again, we've highlighted the TB figure in pink within the panel. So you can use that health sub-index panel to give you a gauge of what bulls to pick from when you are making those breeding decisions. Some of the questions here again, we've gone through the majority of them there. An individual has said, what percentage of genomic sires are delivering according to their figures? So I suppose I don't have the percentage off the top of my head, but I can say that we've never had a more comprehensive daughter proven panel available to our customers, which is proof in itself that our genomic bulls are evolving into these daughter proven bulls that are remaining high on the EBI index, and their daughters are milking and performing at an exceptional herd level. So I suppose that's proof in pudding itself. And the fact that we've the top two, we've number one and number two bulls. We've the number one sexed daughter proven bull available in Swoop. And yeah, I think the fact that we the fact that we have the need to put in an outcross panel to identify outliers just shows how well our genetics are doing because our sires are constantly breeding new sires to come in, new genomic sires to come in, and they're constantly coming up highly ranked on the EBI. I don't know if you want to say anything else, Tom.
No, no, I can agree thoroughly. Yeah. I suppose one thing maybe just before, in case we sign off, is that we haven't discussed any of the dairy beef stars, and possibly we'll have another webinar down the road on these because obviously, beef is has become very, very important as well. There's an awful lot of beef being used. In fact, last year there was more beef used in AI than dairy, and just shows you. So. Yeah, and I suppose calves have been making fantastic money. We're seeing, so hopefully we hope that this spring it'll be the same again. But certainly any guys there last year that, be it Angus Hereford, Ben Blues, Charlie Limbs, whatever, guys were getting great, great sort of a return on their investment, as for the want of a better word. I suppose that's the other thing is that there's guys asking now maybe will there be less sex used? I mean, we're hearing that there will be, but in reality, I suppose, Fiona, and maybe if you could maybe come in on this, is that guys that use sex successfully, particularly on their, maybe on their some of their top cows, and also on maybe on their maiden heifers, and go all beef, and they're actually some of these guys using beef at the very start. They're actually the bull calf is actually paying for the more than paying for the extra cost of the sex semen. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose we just don't know how long that will last as well. So, if the beef prices stay up, but sex is definitely it's a hard one to call. I don't know. But I suppose we don't want to overshoot it either. So, it's going to be a hard one, and we'll just have to wait and see what the appetite is for sex. But I think people have been getting on really well with it, and so we'll see.
There was another question I spotted, and I think he's come in twice, so we definitely better answer this man. He's asked the question, um, why are not all the bulls AAA scored? So I'll throw in my tuppence on that, is that because of biosecurity, I know that the guys, when they come in from Holland to score the bulls, they're allowed 1 year, they're allowed to go to, maybe there's two main studs, obviously one in Mallow and the other is above an infield. So we don't allow them to go from one stud to the other just in case they bring anything. So 1 year they're allowed into Munster and Mallow, and the year or the maybe actually they come in about maybe 9 months apart. They normally come about 9 months later, and then they're allowed up into the other stud. But sometimes bulls do get cold, and they get and obviously there will be bulls due to be scored there now. So there's bulls in the catalogue. The Umber bulls might not have a AAA rating assigned to them, but hopefully, by the summer they will all be done. So that's my answer on that.
Yeah, yeah. And any bulls that have the AAA scores, we do feature it on the top of each of their profiles as well. So as soon as we get it, we put it up there. And when the figures, we're only putting in a spring catalog, obviously once a year. But when the figures do become available, we update the bull profiles on the website. So we do have the information as soon as it becomes available, shown on the website if it's not in time for the spring catalog. So um, that should be there for the majority of the bulls.
Yeah.
Then um, just another question, has the DBI changed because of the valuations? The economic values were included or were updated as well in the DBI back in September, and some live weight information was included in that as well. But like Tom said, I'd say we will do a webinar specifically on the DBI for herd owners in maybe in a few weeks, and we can do a big focus on that. Um, then what time of the year are you calculating cow weights for the maintenance figures? So ICBF ICBF have the maintenance figures that are reflective of a third lactation, mid lactation cow. So she's a mature live weight, mid lactation. So that's when those live weights are, or what the maintenance figures are reflective of what live weights they are. Um, Tom, you have a question there. Will the future price of milk have an impact on usage of AI?
Yeah, look, it's a hard one. I mean, but look, I think what we've demonstrated tonight, particularly yourself there earlier on at the start of the presentation, Fina, is the amount of extra profit that has been generated if you take it just on a single herd or even the national herd. I mean, it's actually phenomenal what EBI has delivered, and I suppose a lot of kudos needs to go to ICBF and all Chagas, all those involved. Um, we saw there in the 10 years there was about €200 profit delivered per cow. So that's it's a fantastic figure. And I think most farmers see the value in AI. Value, you know, when a good year like last year, guys might have gone off and spent money on tractors, invested money, but um, I think AI is one of those things that it's not a huge cost. It's obviously a cost every year, but I think it's one of those things that actually does give a serious return on investment. And I'd say most farmers will continue to invest in AI, I would imagine, going forward.
And we were talking earlier as well, and you made the point
Excuse me.
again that genetics is permanent and cumulative. So as long as you're selecting the higher genetic sires, you're impacting your herd positively on a long-term scale. So I think I think that's a really important one to consider as well, that the advantage of AI that you are bringing in the best genetics year on year and building on to your herd profile.
Yeah.
Um, so there's just one last question. How can high yielding herds, 8,000 litres plus, improve EBI when high yield basically means low EBI? Um, I suppose it's not necessarily low EBI. We still have really good high production bulls that will drive on volume, but alongside milk solids as well. So really exceptional for milk solids. Um, and if you want to keep your volume high, I suppose the importance is there is to constantly select on a high production sub-index, because that will drive on solids percentages, and your volume there will maintain um there as well. And I suppose you're you want to improve EBI, your herd mightn't have the highest EBI, but as long as you're making small improvements, you can still improve your EBI by what bulls you're selecting on. Tom, have you anything to add there?
Yeah, I think you covered it. I mean, look, maybe guys with an 8,000 litre herd, I'm not sure he didn't say whether he was spring calving or maybe he's calving both autumn and spring. But I think even guys who are calving kind of the old traditional liquid milk herds, when I speak to them, they put their hand up and they'll say like they see the value in EBI, and they will definitely focus more on the higher kgs, bulls that have higher kgs of solids and a bit more milk, but they also want to. A lot of those herds had serious problems with fertility, so they would have seen major benefits that EBI brought to them in terms of fertility in particular as well. Like.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't want
Um,
a quarter of your herd continuously being swung around from autumn to spring or spring back to autumn. Guys that were in that system, what they found they were breeding off of those cows with poor fertility. It just they were in a never ending kind of a cycle that they couldn't get out of. They literally had to go and purchase cows. They
yeah,
found.
and we still have sires there, the likes of Rory. Just looked up the pedigree production and confirmation panel. So that's the kind of panel that would suit that high volume system. And Rory's there 226 EBI, so that's after the base change. So would have been up near 330 EBI previous. But he's 246 kgs from milk. Tom, you've already gone through him, but 28 kgs of milk solids. So that's up near 40 prior to the base change. So there's loads of bulls there that are available for every system. And I suppose that goes back to this is such a comprehensive panel that there is something there for everyone. Okay,
Yeah.
so we've
There's
gone
one
past.
more.
Oh,
There was just one. I think I just saw one more question flash in there, Fina. I'm not sure where you went to, but it's something
when
that I can. Yeah, if you call it out, it's a question I can answer for you then.
when bulls make catalogue from Gene Ireland program, are the dams good cows in stature and overall conformation? Example, not low bags, others, etc.
So yes, so there's a number of people. Obviously, I would just say first of all, there's a great team there in NCBC. So Dr. Fíona Dunne and her colleague, Dr. Alan Toomey, from both working here in Munster. They're part of. They work closely with Dr. Doreen Carden in NCBC. You have Eddie Barrett, who's very, he's a guy. Obviously, everyone I think knows Eddie. He's been involved in cows from a really tremendous family based in Cork City who are showing cows all their lives and have a really high standard of cows. And of course, then Robert Helen in West Cork again, the same Robert, his son, family, they won the National Dairy Show. So I think we've an awful lot of talent within the NCBC group, the people selecting the bulls for our customers, and just want to pay tribute to them really. And I think everyone can be very, take a lot of confidence that these people, they really know their stuff. And we've also been joined there, but recently in the last year by um, Niall Duffy, who was, working previously with another company. So he's now working with Progressive, and he's also involved now as part of the NCBC breeding program. So, yes, the answer is that all the cows are vetted, and that I think I've seen an awful lot of them. I've been out helping to organise the photographing and that, and would be, they're all good sound cows, is what I'd say.
Yeah, and I
So
suppose
that's it.
when we select calves, initially we go by their figures and then select a short list. And then NCBC will go out and look at the dams. And like you said, if they're not sound and in good condition, we don't buy the calf to go into the AI program. So they are all in great condition for the breeding program going into Gene Ireland. Okay, so I suppose we've gone past 9:30. Just if we want to just recap on the key takeaways. So the impact of the base change there's no re-ranking down to the base change. So all we have to do is get our minds realigned to the new figures and adjust your selection criteria accordingly. And hopefully that bull profile page will give you figures that you can select upon and use to work out where you need to be selecting. The catalogue explainers, they're there to help. Also at the back of the catalogue, if you have any questions, you can get in contact with any of the sales team. Tom mentioned myself and Alan in the office there. We're always there to answer any questions. And Tom, yourself as well. You're always on the phone troubleshooting with customers. And I suppose a recap, we do have the top sires, top ranking sires nationally, which we've shown today. So I suppose using Munster Bovine bulls will put you in a really strong position going into the 2026 breeding season. And then again, there's that QR code, so that will link you to the January 6 semen offer if you are interested. But it does finish on the 6th of February, so if you're interested, be sure to get in touch with the sales team. Someone just asked, will this presentation be available to watch again? It will indeed. We will put it up and share it on all of our socials as well. So you'll be able to watch there. Okay, so I
Brilliant.
suppose from myself, just thanks a million for taking the time out of your evening to listen to us chat away and
Mm.
go on. And I hope you did find it helpful. And it was great to be able to talk to you all.
Okay, good night, and thanks for joining. Yeah, excellent.
That's super. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.